In this presentation, I'll be discussing the key to all sacred geometrical structures that have been utilized by many cultures around the world and throughout time to represent sacred relationships. The key to sacred geometry is a fundamental geometry from which all of the various sacred symbols in and of themselves can be derived. The question is, what is that particular geometry? Knowing that the sacred relationships are associated with circles, and virtually all cultures throughout time have used the circle to relate these important relationships between people and the universe. So the question is the fundamental geometry circular, or is it another structure? And what I found looking at circular structures from many cultures from around the world and from different points in history and prehistory is that this fundamental structure isn't a two-dimensional form as a circle is, but it's in fact three-dimensional and takes the form of a sphere. And in fact there are 9 circles or great circles about a spherical surface that define this very fundamental and ultimately sacred geometry. This geometry is important because from it all of the various sacred two-dimensional symbols can be derived, and in fact physicists are discovering that that very same three-dimensional geometry, very specific to a particular geometry of a sphere, and not any sphere, but a very specific one, created from 9 great circles in a very particular configuration, represents the geometry of empty space, or the energy that one encounters within empty space. So the sacred nature of this geometry is intersecting after thousands and thousands of years with the understanding of scientists in the last few months, where they are discovering the shape of empty space and the energy within it, that is intersecting with what mankind has understood for many thousands of years as the geometry that relates people with each other and the universe and the creator, whoever that creator is, and in whatever fashion we perceive that creator to be. So this geometry is fundamental, and it's sacred, and it's pervasive throughout the universe. This geometry, surprisingly, like I say, allows one to derive virtually all sacred geometries that have been used by cultures around the world throughout time. Whether we look at single circles within sacred symbols, or 2 circles, such as the Vesica Pisces, composed of 2 circles intersecting in a particular fashion, or 3 circles intersecting or touching each other tangentially in a particular form, 4 circles, 5, 6 circles. 6 circles being important because the centers of those circles can form a hexagonal structure, and the hexagon itself has great importance to sacred geometry. But as one goes on to more complex structures, such as the seed of life, the flower of life, indeed the tree of life, each of these being two-dimensional structures constructed from hexagons or circles. The tree of life being an interesting one because it is perhaps the most complex of the structures and is associated with Kabbalah of Judaism. But it is a two-dimensional structure composed of 10 nodes where 22 lines are intersecting. And it's a two-dimensional structure But interestingly, what I've discovered is its fundamental form is spherical. And so we will discuss in this lecture how that comes to be, how each of these various sacred symbols, sacred geometries, are derived from a very particular spherical structure of 9 great circles.